Hello, pursuers. Welcome to another episode of the Pursuit of Happiness podcast. I am your podcast host, Naz Kazemi. Sorry, this podcast is coming out a bit late. It is coming out on Friday. Okay. I believe it's, Friday, March 27th. And I'm going to explain why it's a little bit late this week. So first and foremost, the microphone is just splendid. So now I feel like I have the complete set for podcasting, but here's the problem. I really didn't need the podcast light kit at all because that has a condensed microphone. It's a little bit more, picks up audio. It's for like when you're in studios, you know? This one is the dynamic microphone and it works wonders. I love it so much. So happy I got it. I remember when I was when I was recording at home, it was the Monday, and there was so much noise going on in the background. I'm like, oh my God, okay, let me just wait. Let me just pause it and see if it picked up any of the audio. And it really barely did, whereas the condenser would have picked that up so quickly. So anyways, we're doing things right, okay? We're moving in the right direction. So something really exciting had happened last weekend. I kind of want to go over that as well, is that I hit 1,000 downloads on this podcast. So I just want to thank everybody, all my pursuers, wherever you listen to your podcast, whether it's Apple, Spotify, I know there's a Podcast Addict, I believe, Podbean, iHeart, wherever you guys are listening to this, thank you so much for being part of this with me. I am so excited that we're building a community here and that you guys are just interested in what I have to say about various topics, because really, like, when I started this podcast, I just feel like part of being ADHD is that I just have so many things to cover and I can't just be niche, or else I would have 12 different podcasts. So not to make it sound narcissistic, but the brand is about me and my experiences that I go through and my opinions about certain things. And sometimes people are going to agree with it and sometimes not. And sometimes people are going to like what I talk about and sometimes not. And that's okay. That's just having a difference of opinions. And I just feel like if I can maybe enlighten, support, show a different perspective for people out there, then perhaps I'm doing something right. Not to mention, it's extremely therapeutic to be able to speak, and I love to talk. That might be a little bit of a narcissistic thing, but I don't necessarily want to talk about always myself. I want this to build and eventually have guests on, because I also love learning, and I love learning from people. And that's why I want to build a community of things that is really honest, and experiences and places where people can come with their life experiences, and we can sort of chat about that and kind of and relate to each other that way. You know, I feel like there's not many authentic spaces left for people to be able to do that, because just the way that the world is. I remember, and lately, I don't know if it's, okay, I'm going off on tangents. I haven't been taking my medication for over 2 months now, so that's a good thing, and I'll get into that. But I'm seeing, you know, when they say that when you think about things, all of a sudden it starts popping up in your TikTok shop or advertisements on your social medias, and I find that to be so true, because I've been thinking so much about AOL lately. Now that I've finally said it out loud, it's probably going to show up even more, but old school internet. Remember when we were going old school internet, and a lot of people that I'm hearing talk about it say how we would have old school internet and we would have to go into these chat rooms and chat with people. And remember, we always used to be like ASL, like age, sex, location, and that's how we would like, and then people would be like, for example, 18, female, North Carolina. Remember that used to be the thing? So those were like very authentic chat rooms that we would get into. And I think at the very, very beginning, like, we were so open to giving people our information. Like, I was listening on one podcast, like the guy had gone and literally given his address to a girl and phone number, and that girl started calling the house, and his mom was freaking out because, again, old school mom, like Gen X mom, whereas we're like the millennial kids. And the mom was like, why would you do that? You don't know who that person is. You don't know what they could be, who they could be, really, you know? And yeah, like the fear was there back then, but not as intense as it is now. Like now it's just consumed by, like, it's so funny because myself included, like there was a period of time where everyone had things private. Like it was the ICQ, MSN, Nexopia, MySpace era. Remember that era? You could have two options. You keep it private or you have it open and everyone can see. At the time when everyone kept everything private, I was one that was like, fuck, I'm going to open everything up. I don't care. Let people see my life, you know? I have nothing to hide. I'm an open book, which I still am. I mean, there's boundaries around what I will share. For example, if I really close to people, or I'm dating someone, like I'm not just going to tell them, I'm not going to trauma dump, and not that I trauma dump, like I get into just shared experiences, but this platform I am a little bit more able to, as my daughter calls it, she's like, Mommy, you trauma dump too much. And it's not trauma dumping, it's just like explaining my experience and just putting it out there, being honest about it. But then we switched. Then with the advent, and is that correct? Or the invention of Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, a lot of people went more public. Like I have friends that have families and they don't private their accounts anymore, which I went the opposite way. At the time that I was still posting my daughter, I went totally private. I didn't even post photos anymore. I took all her photos off. I took all my photos off because there was more of a threat coming from the online world, right? Like there's dark web, there's pedophiles, there's murderers, there's people, and I am one of those people. I'm not a pedophile or murderer. Nice try. I am one of those people that I can look at what people post, and from what they post, I'm able to find out who they are, where they live. It takes me a while. I'm not as like advanced as other people, but like I just tried it. I used to be very into tech. I still am. Like I have my website, and right now my website is kind of like engineered already for me to just input the information and it plays out. But I am going back to school, woo woo, and I want to get my bachelor's degree because I do have a couple credits from college when I had first graduated high school, and totally tangents today, sorry guys, but because of the fact that I had very strict parents, they're like, when you turn 18, when you go to college, you can do whatever you want. So that's exactly what I did. I did whatever I want, and part of that included I went to school for about 2, 3, 4 semesters, and then I just quit. I was like, fuck this. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to go work and I want to go party. I'm not blaming my parents, but I feel like it was a result of just having such a strict household that once I was able to do whatever I wanted, it went from being completely like guided and not really explained why things were bad, but just yes and no. Which is why now a lot of times my daughter asks me questions, like sometimes I get into these big long tangents because I want to explain it to her. I don't want to just say no, because I find that yes or no leads to, well, let me just figure it out myself. But explanations why, and sometimes she's like, okay, Mom, I get it. Like you've already said this, but every time it pops up, for example, like not getting along with people in school. And then I explained to her, I'm like, a lot of these times, sometimes these kids have already been bullied, or they don't know any better. Like no one's told them that this is wrong. This will hurt people's feelings, and you would think that that's common sense, but this conversation has never came up for people. Whereas like at a very young age, my daughter would do things. I'm like, listen, if someone did that to you, how would you feel? Put yourself in we would consistently have these conversations. I think a little too much, to a point that now she's such an empath. Like she'll freak out. Like she feels so sorry for people. And I was the same way, but better to be that way and to have compassion for human beings and animals as opposed to not. So I get into these long-winded conversations with her, and then every time something pops up on TV or a TV show that we're watching or news or a meme, I'm like, see, remember we were talking about those kids and how they behave? Like, see, this is a perfect example. So all roads will lead back to that conversation consistently so that she's aware. And that's just the way that I parent. And you always do things from a perspective that or perhaps sometimes don't know. That's why you behave in certain ways or you behave in other ways. And I always come from a place of, when I grew up, I wasn't explained things. I was more told things. Okay. And I feel like there's a huge difference between being told and having an explanation. And that's where my love right now comes from, learning things from people, because I realize that when you actually learn things from a proper environment, such as a school or those motivational speakers, they don't just tell you stuff, they explain and they go into detail, and you learn it that way. And that is so profound for me. And I've always been an explainer. I've always been very detail oriented, to a point that now I get where some of my ADHD symptoms come from. Like people are like, well, someone with ADHD because they don't really go out much or whatever. And it could be a symptom of other things, could even be a little bit of autism. I'm not too sure. I can see myself having a little bit of it. Like I don't like to be very social, although I can talk. I'm not bad at speaking. It's more like, do I want to? you know? And every time I see people in these conversations at bars and restaurants, and again, because I've experienced it myself, where you're friends with people for a period of time and then you're not anymore, it's like, I put so much energy into this just to not be friends with them anymore. Why would I do that over and over again? Many things come from that. I've learned that that's just life. People are in your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. Okay, cool. Yeah, sometimes I go by that principle when I'm sad about a friendship, you know, not working out or the distance that have grown in between us. But then I'm like, I don't have that energy to put into other things. That energy right now for me is being all consumed into my own life and to putting it into my kid. And I think that's fair to say, you know. But back to where I was going, because tangent, but I remember where I was going with this. I'm going back to school. I want to learn. I want to get my bachelor's in tech. Because I love it so much. I love to understand why. And that's another thing that could perhaps be related to my autism. Sometimes when things happen, I'm like, but why did that? Why? And I want to get to the core of it. And one thing that I've had to learn to live with is that if I'm expecting a why from people, I might never get that. So either I have to research why or manipulate my words enough, and not to manipulate the person, but to make them feel comfortable enough to get to, because sometimes when you're just like, but why? People get so annoyed with you. They're like, shut the F up, man. I'm not going to tell you anything else. But if you're like, well, I'm just so curious, like, and you don't have to be friends with this person, build a friendship. That's when I'll build friendships with people, because I'm just so curious about how their brain works. I love to learn. And lately I've been watching The Big Bang Theory, you guys. Pursuers. I am in love with Sheldon. I am freaking in love with that man. Like, that is my dream man. And yes, I know he's gay in real life. I'll ungay him. This is what I used to tell people when people were like, Vin Diesel's gay. I'm like, I will ungay Vin Diesel. Okay. I'm just kidding. Vin Diesel is not gay. Okay. We've all learned that now. He has a family. And I don't care if people are gay or not. And I want to say like I'm sapiosexual, but I don't really like all these gendered names, you know. I don't think I'm like aroused by, like sexually aroused by smarts. But I'm definitely aroused by smarts. I don't know if it's a sexual thing. Like, I'm not going to get naked and hop into bed with somebody because they're smart. But that's the person I want to spend lots of time with. Teach me. It's like having like an Ed Milet in your ear, or even a Sheldon Cooper in your ear 24/7. Like, that is so attractive to me. Like, teach me. Teach me things that I don't know. Because all the other things about partying and going out and, oh, that person fucking slept with that person, yeah, man, we're so fucking wasted, I'm not interested in. Not to mention I'm sober. And that kind of gossip, that's why I watch The Real Housewives, you guys. So that it's there for me in my living room and I can judge it from a distance, but it's not my life. And I don't have to voluntarily go out with these people and have dinner and hear that type of bullshit. And for an hour a day, I get to skip the parts that I want to skip. That's it. But I don't know. Again, it could be the autism in me. I don't know how I got shaped into being this type of person. All I remember is I've always been this way. People have always at a young age been mean to me, and it would hurt my own feelings to be mad back at them, because I would feel sorry for them if I was mad at them. And at that time, I didn't really realize that I could be a vicious, mean bitch. I just didn't want to be mean back to people. I would cry when I would think about looking into their human eyes and being mean to them. So I'd be like, okay, let them be mean to me. Let them be mean to me. I'll take it, because I can't be mean back to them. So does that make you a strong person? Because I thought for a long period of time that I was uber sensitive. And I think everybody in their right is uber sensitive about certain things that they might value more than other people. And some people are not. Like, I could be uber sensitive about one certain topic. For example, my weight. As Sheldon Cooper says, and I know I used this last time, is your self-value tied into your body mass? Absolutely, that's me. But there could be other people, and I know for women it varies. Like, there's degrees that it varies. Perhaps for other women, not so much. You know, I am a consistent falling off the wagon type person. So yeah, maybe for me it's tied into it a little bit more. So anyways, it's been intense. It's been a great week. It's been lots of learning. So we are back in Mexico. We were back home in Canada for a couple months. Sorry. It was only supposed to be a month. We went back for a wedding, plus all the stuff in Iran was happening. And as you all know, if anyone follows me on my socials, one of my younger cousins was killed. in that. And then a few days later, my uncle, and these are all from my dad's side, he passed away in his sleep from a heart attack. Could have been stress, could have just been coincidence, could have been, timing of everything that's happened. So with that being said, while we were there, a lot of things happened. My daughter decided that she wants to go to school in Canada because we hadn't put her in school here quite yet. That was part of the plan, to come back here and figure out going back to school. But she decided that she wants to go to school there, so we enrolled her in school there. She attended for a couple weeks, and at that same time, I'm like, okay, my dream is to live in Mexico, and because I had gone back home, I'm like, and it was cooler there and whatever, I'm like, okay, let me just figure out what's the best thing what can I get out of this to learn, so that I didn't go to Mexico for nothing. And you do realize that, like, you're a lot more blessed and privileged when you live in countries like Canada and the US. Okay. So that's when I decided, okay, let me make the best of this. I'm going to enroll myself back in school. I'm going to continue with my podcast and my blog, which I worked a lot on while I was there. I would blog almost consistently. So now I've written so many blog posts that will last me until April, because the blog's getting more hits. So I'm kind of building like this ecosystem of my personal brand about who I am, and I want to be able to inspire that way, I got a gig for a voiceover role for an audiobook, so that's what I'm also going to be working on. I still watch my shows, okay? Although there's just been a lot, the shows have been dying and there's a whole bunch of new ones starting. We will do a recap. Won't be this episode. I will probably do another episode where it's just strictly Bravo. But I'm also restructuring the way that I do my recaps, and I've told you guys this as well. I kind of just want to make it more like focus on certain issues that I see, or certain things that I just want to point out and talk about and gossip about, but not necessarily do like a full like play-by-play about what happened. I'm sure everyone's already seen it if they're going to be listening to me talk about it. So a lot of kind of things came from that. And then so we had extended our flights. We decided to stay an extra month just to kind of do everything that we needed to do. And since my daughter is back in school, she can we figured, okay, let's just go during spring break, instead of like the original time that we had planned, spring break in Canada, because if we go at the original time that we had planned, she would miss so much school. But we left during spring break, and we're going to go back sometime in May, so it's a little bit extra time for us to be here. So she's still going to be missing school, just not as much. She's still quite young. Like, she's not necessarily in high school quite yet. So not that missing school is great, but she's not missing anything important. We enrolled her in math tutoring. We kind of created a system, a schedule. I was able to save a little bit more money while I was there and support myself and my daughter, because we were staying with my mom, and that's what we're going to be planning on doing, staying with my mom. I had a lot of conditions going back, and not that I'm relying on my family. I'm going to be paying rent and helping out and whatnot, but like I'm not at the capacity. The reason that I moved to Mexico was so I could build my life here, and I'm not at the capacity to go back and live in Canada with the income that I have and the goals that I have. So we decided to stay with my mom, which I love. I love that idea. If I could afford it, I would buy a big house and me and my family would live in it together. But it would have to be a big house, okay? If I want all the family living there, like everyone have their own section of the house, okay? Like suites, okay? Like where we lock each other up, and maybe we have a communal fucking like living room or something, because that family goes nuts. It's so funny because there's certain members of my family, being my mom and my brother, and when we're there in front of them, they are just so mean to us, and they're always catty and starting fights. The minute that we leave, it's both of them messaging consistently being like, I miss you guys, how are you guys, do you need anything? But it's like, how come you guys can't be like this when we're right there in front of you? I'm opposite. I'm very attentive to your needs when I'm there in front of you, but the minute, and it could be my ADHD, or it could just be like I'm busy with life, or it could just be that I don't feel guilty because I know that I was completely nice while I was there. When I'm off away from them, I'm not as attentive because I can't really do much from far away. You know what I mean? So I'm just doing my own thing when I'm far away. So I'm a little bit different. I operate a little bit differently that way, But it's nice to see I don't have as many regrets. Like, I used to be the type of person that my brother is now. I used to just yell every time someone asked me a question. I used to freak out. I would be very reactive, very impulsive, and I feel like I've calmed that down a lot. So whether, and I know I talked about this last episode when I did the pursuer questions, and I know that a lot of people, not a lot of people actually, just my family think, actually just my brother think that I'm still the same person that I was, but I am very proud that I'm so in tune and I know that I'm not that person, you know? And that's why sometimes family can be the most triggering, because they push your buttons the most, because you're always the most vulnerable with them, you know? And yet somehow they have this freaking way of just putting that knife in and twisting it to a point that you're gonna fucking scream out in pain, you know? So back to the whole big house living together. Of course, it'd be nice, but like I'm talking, we need a mansion. Like, everyone's got their own corner of the house, but you know, that's wishful thinking. For now, again, I'm going to be living with my mom, with my daughter and my mom, and we're both going to have very busy schedules. I don't know how my school schedule is going to go, but I'm very determined to get my bachelor's, and the goal is to come back to Mexico once I've received my bachelor's and I have a career, which typically in tech it is remote. If I have to fly in sometimes to attend meetings or seminars or conferences, great. I want to work for an American company. I don't know which one quite yet, but part of the reason of my going back to school was like, I'm kind of like feeling New York lately. Like, I was like, I'll always have a place in Mexico, but I kind of want to go to New York for a bit. Okay, so let's fast forward. Now I'm back in Mexico. I'm back in La Paz and I love it. And I was like, oh, I don't want to go back to Canada. Like, I realize how much I love it. The weather's good. It's sunny. It's kind of making me excited for summer in Canada, because, especially Vancouver, because the weather does get great. And I'm back on a routine with my gym and I'm feeling good with my eating. So I'm much more excited to be in Vancouver for the summer. And the plan always was, if we move far away from our original home, that we always come back for the summers, and not just so we can sit in Vancouver for the summers. I told my daughter, I'm like, I'm really gonna try my hardest to save money, perhaps rent a car for the summer. And what I want to do is I want to just drive through Canada. You know, that could be me and her summer thing, and then we can leave Mexico for the days of the times that we both have off from school, because we're both going to be in school. You know, because I still want to come back, and we celebrate Christmas. I mean, we are Christian, but culturally, religiously, as a religion for me and my daughter, we of course adore Christmas. We love that time of year, but culturally, as a culture in my household, we celebrated it. But as we got older, it wasn't so of a religious thing. It was more like, because Canadians do it, we're gonna do it too, so that you're not kind of left out from it. I always buy my daughter gifts. I think this year might have been the only year that we didn't get gifts, because we were in Mexico, and honestly, she was like, Mommy, I already have everything. You've gotten me everything that I've ever wanted. And when we went back to Canada, it was just with me like budgeting and financing, I was able to buy her things that she had wanted. She made like an Amazon list. So I'm always consistently buying her things, but I also didn't grow up with it being such a consistent part of our lives. So I'm going to make it as traditionally possible. Like, so far, we've had 2 or 3 Christmases in the past few years that we haven't been at home. We've traveled. And I mean, that's an amazing experience in itself. Like, at least I was able to provide that. So probably come back for Christmas. I mean, it's still hot here. It's just not as hot as like right now, but it's still hot. And there's other places in Mexico that I want to go to. And why Mexico? It's because now we're comfortable here. So I don't mind traveling back here to do like Mexico City and other parts, and take a ferry here and do other cities, and still come and visit our friends that we have here, you know? And then as my daughter gets older and I'm able to save even more money, I'm thinking when she's like, you know, in her mid-teens, me and her will do a Europe trip when we're out of school for the summer, you know, because then she's a little bit older and she's learned more about Europe in her history classes and social studies classes, and she's able to understand it more. I remember even when I would take her to Disneyland when she was younger, like she doesn't really have a lot of memories about it. She has more of Universal, because we went to Universal when she was a little bit older. But these kind of experiences will only kind of hit your or touch your soul when you understand a little bit of the history there. And I could teach her too, but I think she needs to be a little bit older. Even sometimes now we walk in the heat. She's winded. She's like, I can't do this. I feel like I'm going to faint. So just let's build her a flex on those muscles a little bit more, so that when she's a little bit older, we can kind of do all, because Europe is all walking, and I'm so excited to do that because we can eat the pasta, do all the walking, get in our steps. Sometimes I'm like, let's go for a walk. And she just looks at me like, oh God, please. I just want to be in the AC. And I get it, you know? So that's why I'm saying a little bit older. She'll probably appreciate it a little bit more too when she's older. So lots of things I have planned. I'm very hopeful. Like I always try to take the positive from things that have happened to me. And now that I'm back in La Paz, I'm like, Mexico is, I love it here. Like my heart, like I'm so sad now that I have to go back to Canada. So it inspires me even more to just finish my school, get a remote job with a company in America, could be located in New York. So that would be kind of like home base for work, and then work remotely, like move for sure to Mexico and like live here. Because by that time my daughter will be in university, and then she's going off and doing her own thing. Not that we won't ever be close. We'll probably still always vacation together and see each other when we can, but she's planning on going to a university in the U.S. We've been saving up for her to be able to achieve that goal and that dream. So I can't follow her everywhere, although I would love to. It's like maybe I'll just camp out and get a place like outside of where she is. You know, hopefully it's NYU where she wants to go, because then it gives me an excuse to go there often. Sorry, I just had a drink of my coffee. But that's the plan. And I mean, plans, one thing I've learned by 41, almost 42 years on this planet, is that life and plans don't always go the way that you wanted to. But one thing I've also learned is that it might deviate, and all you have to do at that point is learn how to pivot and just keep going, so that you can eventually get back on the road that will lead you to your goal. You know, it's been a tough journey for me. When I went back home to Vancouver, I just I felt like I was so out of sorts. Like it was nice. Even if we went to Vancouver for 2 months and came back to live here in Mexico, it worked out perfect. Like I feel like just like when you leave home and you go somewhere else and you travel and then you go back home, you come with a different mindset. I came here to move, and then I went back home and I realized, okay. Now I really know what needs to get done, so when I do go back to Mexico, how to make it work. Unfortunately, we're only back here for a limited time because we are moving back to Vancouver for temporarily for the next few years. But now I know what I need to do so that not only is my nervous system in a good place when we get back to Vancouver, but I have goals and things to achieve, and all those are going to bring me back to where I want to, but with a different, fresh, more abundant kind of mindset, you know? Then that leads me to the next thing, my ADHD medication, which I have not taken in over 2 months. I'm so proud of myself for that. A lot of things have contributed to that. First of all, when I went back home, I was just like, well, I don't really have things that I have to do as much as I thought that I did. So let me just not be on the medication. Another thing about ADHD, and I haven't completely stopped. I still get my prescription. I have it. If I need it, it's there. Even when I was in active drug use, for example, and this is, cocaine was a drug of choice in upper, obviously, because it affected me different than people that would party. Like I would do it and I would have clarity and I would get good ideas and I would write it down. Of course, after a couple hours, you're not necessarily smart anymore. You're kind of just doing it just to like stay high. And it faded really quickly for me. Like it didn't last long for me to get to a point where I was like, now I'm relying on the drug rather than just partying and having a good time with it, right? That's because of my addictive personality, my ADHD. It just affected me different. But even at that point, like it was like more for ideas to give me that boost, you know. I've learned a lot about myself, you guys, and I feel like, and I've always said this, a lot of my addiction stemmed from me and how I felt about my body. So the first few times I did coke and I lost weight, I was like, this is fucking awesome. So whenever I felt like not only that I need to think properly, but I want to lose weight, I would do cocaine. Okay. And then later on in life, I got into bodybuilding. I had my daughter. I was 5 years sober at that time. And then when I relapsed, when I was dating kind of a younger guy, I was doing a second bodybuilding show. So my first bodybuilding show was pure. I did everything correctly. I was so innocent, my first show. My second show, and I'm not blaming anybody. I don't even blame the first time that I tried drugs on anybody. I did it with some girls that I worked at a restaurant with, at Earl's restaurant. Sorry, Earl's. They're known for being like big cokeheads there. At any restaurant. I worked at Cactus Club, then I went and I worked at Earl's. And at Earl's, and I was 25 years old, did drugs for the first time. It had nothing to do with the girls that I did it with. If I hadn't done it at that point, maybe I would never do it and I wouldn't realize that I'm an addict and learn all the things that I've learned and meet my daughter's father and have my daughter. So I don't regret what I've done because everything has led me to a point of, probably wouldn't even have a podcast because I wouldn't have as much life experience and feel like I need to share to help somebody, you know? And then also with bodybuilding, like I don't blame anybody in the bodybuilding industry for telling me, hey, a lot of bodybuilders do this to stay lean and do this and they do this. I don't blame that on anybody either. That was a choice that I made, and I was in my 30s. Like I was actually in my late 20s at that time, early 30s. But those are choices that I made. I didn't have to follow the crowd. No one put a gun to my head. I just wanted a shortcut to get to where I was going. And those kind of quick fixes don't last long, right? And I found that when I was heavy taking my medication, it also led me to being a lot thinner. But I was just my nervous system was so shot, I couldn't really think properly. The only time I could think and function is if I was on medication. I was scammed a lot of money online, hence another reason why I want to go into tech and get into the cybersecurity and potentially software engineering and just being able to help people that have been scammed. I would love to do that because I myself was scammed thousands of dollars online. I'm not like hundreds of thousands, just maybe 6,000, 7,000. And I contacted a company to help me retrieve that money. And I was just in such a bad space that I didn't keep in touch with them. And finally, when I reached out, they'd already taken money from me. Close to $1,000 because they needed to put it in a tracking system, and they found the people that scammed it, but I just didn't stay in touch. Mind you, I still have all those scammers' numbers on my phone, and I know that sometimes they send me scam things, and I'm not going to delete them until I'm able to do cyber security myself, and I will promise you guys this, track those fuckers down and get my money back and help people that have happened to them, because this whole conversation started with the whole Nexopia thing. And remember, I was like, things are so out there, and people in a world where everyone just wants to share everything now, I've become a little bit more reserved as opposed to when I was younger and things first started coming out. I was so open and like, let them see, because it was just so innocent back then. Like when technology first started appearing and becoming so vast and we could talk to anyone in the world, it was just at such an innocent point back then. It wasn't as manipulative, but just like anything in life, the longer that it's there, people find ways to cheat the system, to cheat people with the system that they've cheated, it just becomes so much more toxic. So all roads lead to why I want to go and do my tech stuff. But about my ADHD medication, because and I'm not saying that I'm never going to take it again. I'm just saying so far it's been 2 months that I haven't touched it. I just haven't felt the need to. I'm keeping myself busy enough that I don't get to a point that I'm so exhausted that I don't go do what I need to do. I hope that makes sense. Something that I've really learned about myself being a person of ADHD and just throughout the years is it conflicts with me being a bit autistic. So for example, how should I explain this? I hate being around fake people. I hate being around people that are not honest and are kind of fake. And I find that all these kind of small talk things that people go out and they have dinners, I get it. Those are their friends. But again, because I've experienced so much loss through friendships, I'm like, I'm not going to invest too much more of my time in doing these kind of things. And the friends that I have now, sometimes we do things and sometimes we don't. In fact, a lot of the times we just sit and we converse and we just teach each other things and we talk about life. And I love those conversations. So I've kind of rewired my brain to think that it might not be like what other people do, but do I still like to go eat sometimes? Of course. And that's another thing. Like, because I'm so into how I look and feel in my body, I find that if I go out and I eat too much, trust me, this will link into what I'm saying, you guys. Just give me a minute. If I go out and I eat too much, it kind of ties into how I look and feel. Like that I'm not following my diet plan and I'm more gassy and like I just feel like I've wasted money. Like I love to spend money on things that I love, like clothes. Like I'll spend a lot on Shein because you can buy so much with like $500. So I feel so like, so good when I do. And that's also a trauma in itself, but I've obviously haven't been able to do those type of shopping sprees lately. That's what led me in trouble a few years ago. I've kind of learned I have enough clothes to last me a lifetime. In fact, even when I went back home to Canada to visit, I missed all my stuff because I put so much value in the things that I bought, because it was at a time when I was at a good place in my life. These are things that I needed. Like I don't really need to go and buy things because I already have tons of it. And I'm so proud of myself. Like I bought myself a really nice laptop. I bought myself all this podcast equipment. Just one thing I probably did buy was this microphone, because I was like, okay, the condenser's not working. I need a dynamic, and perfect purchase. I'm glad that I had money aside to buy that. I wasn't spending frivolously. I buy hair dye to dye my grays. Things that I need, like tampons and stuff, I'll buy, but I don't need to buy any more fans for my house. I don't need to buy any more Stanley Cups. I don't need to buy any more Lululemon. If I'm buying it, it's because a new colors come out and I want to. I get a bit of a discount, but it's not because I need it, So I'm proud that at least the money that I had spent, this time I can show for it. It didn't go to drugs. It went to like things that I bought. And I don't need to do another shopping spree for the next probably fucking 10 years if I really wanted to. I have desks in my storage. I have lamps. I have writing materials. I have furniture, nice furniture. Like my big furniture, obviously I gave away. I have nice stools and ottomans and a nice desk that's still at my mom's house. And I told my mom when I move back, I'm going to arrange it and fix it. But what I'm trying to say is that me being like the autie, I guess, type that I am, like I tied up so much of going out to always being with people. So when that died, I feel like my ADHD became a lot worse, because then it's like, okay, so now what do I do? So this new wave of who I'm becoming and what I'm going to really put my attention to is having my routine and not deriving from it, because I've told you, I'm good at getting to a place. I'm good at getting to where I need to go, and then I was great at getting to Mexico, and then I felt stuck. I'm great at losing the weight, and then I gain it back. I'm great at buying the car, and then I don't maintain it. The maintenance is much more harder, I'm finding, at this point in my life, and that's where I need to work on next. I don't want to keep getting to some place and sabotaging it because I don't want to maintain it. I know now that I'm able to get to wherever I need to. Great. I'm able to start it, get there. I'm able to start all these jobs. I'm able to start these companies. But now I wanted to focus in on something and maintain it once I get it going. So one of the great examples of that is my website. My website, I've started so many websites and created business cards from Vistaprint and like fucking flyers. And, I had a website, and then I didn't maintain it. So down the drain it went. But this time, the pursuit of happinessnaz.com, I'm like, okay, even if I'm not posting, I'm just going to keep it up. I'm going to keep it, and when I'm able to post again, I will. So every time I'm able to post, I post. And because I didn't delete it or whatever, one day when I was in Vancouver, actually, over this course of 2 months, I checked the stats, and I'm like, holy F, it's getting more than 10 hits a day consistently. Whereas like before, it would be like maybe 20 hits a month. I'm getting 10 hits, and I was looking at like the analytics of it and where it's coming from, and a lot of it is Google search. So it's now getting indexed with Google search, and through my pins on Pinterest and all the things, and it was coming together, and I'm like, wow, like the time passed. So, and it's finally doing its thing. Like now I'm getting hits. So now this is when I should be more consistent. So I was impatient in the maintenance part of it, but now that it always doesn't work this way. Like you should maintain it. You shouldn't just let it go. And then like, imagine how much more I would have had if I had just maintained it, knowing that I would reach this point. But regardless, it's my journey, and my journey showed me that it's going to get indexed. Google's going to show it. I even got a congratulations from Google Search Console saying that, oh, it's getting indexed, and you got 10 hits from Google Search this month, and now it's 20 hits, 30 hits. So then that's why I was like, oh my God, I'm so glad that I didn't delete it. I'm so glad that I just let it happen. And maybe for me, I just needed to sit there the way that it was and add a post here or there to see that it's finally going to go the way that I want. And now I'm getting the hits. And I don't necessarily want it to, when I went into this, it's like, I just want to share my experiences. I found a way to automate it. I found a way to share it. I found a way to, it's all pretty much my personal experiences mixed in with things that I'm curious about. So I do some research. I put it together as a blog post, and I posted it. I've created myself a journal, and it's on Amazon for sale. So now I have recommended tools section. So if people want to buy that journal, they can, and it can help them do their own reflecting. So I've also added affiliate links. Like, these are things I dreamt about doing. I dreamt to have a blog, and my blog would make me money. But I wasn't patient enough to follow it through. I would create the blog, and then I wasn't patient enough to see it through, to see it mature. So that's why I'm proud that this final time with the Pursuit of Happiness Noise, I just kept it. I had the basic plan. I wasn't paying a monthly business fee for it. I wasn't doing any of that. I just let it happen. And now I'm seeing the fruition. It come to fruition. And same with my podcast. My podcast I started, and I was like, you know what? I just love to podcast. I can't believe I waited so long to do it. I love to chat. I have tapes of myself when me and my really close neighbor when I was younger, when I lived in Red Deer, Alberta, because when we had first come from Iran, we were in Red Deer, Alberta. We would send each other tapes back and forth. Like, I would record on it and I would send it to her, and then she would record it back and send it to me. So we had all these kind of things, And I've always just liked to chat and to express myself and to share what I'm feeling, and hopefully other people can feel the same way. Like, that's something that I know that I'm good at, and it's starting to show. And even if it's not my main source of income, at least I'm able to share my experiences and build a community just on that. And sometimes when I'm chatting with people that you should really have a podcast, or you should really do motivational speaking. And this is my way of just bringing to light not only my experiences and it being therapeutic for me, but also perhaps someone can resonate with what I'm saying, or resonates with something that I'm saying, or it's just a different perspective of how I, for example, see the drama on Real Housewives. It's from an ADHD point of view, where I just don't understand how people can live these kind of lives, where a lot of people are like, yeah, that's happened to me in my friend group before. Like, for me, it's just so unbeknownst, So I guess what I'm trying to say is, somewhere in between the time of me having moved to Mexico and then going back to Vancouver for a visit, things started to come to life. I was getting brand offers and things in the mail, and I was just like, oh my God, things are slowly starting to come to light. And I'm just so proud of my persistence through it, although I felt like it feels like nothing. I always feel like in order for me to obtain something, it has to be so hard to get there. But this time it felt easy. And I think part of the easy part is because I wasn't thinking much about it. I was just doing, and I wasn't waiting for it to happen. And really, if you think about it, it started for me. For example, my blog started first time I blogged was 2022. And before that, it was a different blog, and I restructured it. And but the first blog post of this new brand called The Pursuit of Happiness for now is because I'm always on this pursuit. It's been almost 4 years in the making, and at times I just kind of just let it be. Instead of just quitting altogether, I just let it be so that I can come back to it with some new ideas. I deleted some blog posts. I revamped some of the blog posts. I hid some of them because I'm like, I don't know if I really want to share this anymore. So for that, it gave me a little bit more motivation and inspiration that I did maybe something right. So maybe that's why the transition into now getting traffic to my website and traffic to my podcast and to my blog, it feels much more easier than it did before, because the hard work was in getting it to where it is now. And then this part is, I guess, what people always talk about, that it just comes after. Same with some of my digital downloads that I have on my website. I have a meal prep guide that I created, and booty builder program, and I'm starting to see much more hits on that. So I'm on those pages. So I just kind of revamped the write-up, and I added freebies to it. And I think that a lot of times what I see online, feel like I'm doing something wrong because I'm not getting 1,000 purchases overnight. It's taken me a while, but now the traffic is coming, and I even plugged it into ChatGPT. I'm like, how come everyone else is making sales overnight? And for me, it seems like it's taken me 4 or 5 years, and I still haven't really made much sales on it. But now I'm getting the traffic, and even chat responded that this is a process that it plays out. And sometimes people could just be, maybe they've had a longer transition to it too, but they're just not sharing that part. So it appears, social media, internet is always it's like a highlight reel. Like they're not going to show you the 4 or 5 years that it took them to get there, because now it's showing. And sometimes bodybuilding appears to be the same. Like you don't really see people struggling through the tough times. You only see them posting when they're stage lean and they're ready to walk on stage and they're 6 weeks out, because that's when their bodies look the best. And it's like, it's just a good reminder that there's so much work behind the scenes. It's like a production. It's a movie. There's so many people and work behind the scenes to get it to look the way that it looks on screen. And these little things for me, I take them as wins, because these kind of wins are also reminders that that's what it takes, So I'm in between, like I said, the time of moving to Mexico, going back home to Canada, and then now coming back. There's been so many revelations, epiphanies, eye-opening moments that, and also to add to that, when I had gone to Canada, I made the decision, okay, Mercedes is going to be put back in school, and Mercedes, my daughter, put back in school, and I'm going to go back to school as well. Things just kind of, when you align with your path and God or the universe, whatever you believe in, starts, when you do something, it's like you've checked off a mark. You're like, wow, that was great. Like it's almost showing me that this is the path that you were meant to take. So yeah, I was meant to move. I was supposed to restart fresh, take my nails off, take my eyelashes off, take everything off and start fresh and see what really is of value to me. I want to take all the aesthetics out of it. I want to go down to the bare minimum where I'm like, because I already don't have the money right now, but struggle from there and work my way back up. What is it that I really want? Can I live without my eyelashes? Of course. Do I like my nails to be done? Sure. Am I a better person when I'm in a routine with my food and my exercise? Absolutely. So these are the things that I consistently focused on. Did I need a place to vent? And I didn't even give a hoot and shit if it was making money? Absolutely. So that was my blog. Did I come on here because I'm watching these shows and I don't have many friends, and maybe I can create a community where I can talk about these shows and how I'm feeling and what's going on in my life? Absolutely. So I did that. And I just did those things every single day. And then one night, overnight, just like those posts and those people that are online and influencers said, that just sort of just happened. And now I'm in a place where like there's momentum building. And I'm just so grateful that I stuck to it this time, because every other time I've quit. It hasn't been failure, but it was like, I can't do it. I need to do it another way. But this time it was like, just let it grow and mature. And that's something that I've never done before. I've never done a path where I've just quit and I've started something new. I've never let things mature. I think part of the reason that I let it this time is I'm already broke. So I don't need that money that bad, clearly, because if I need money, I need it now. And I knew that it wasn't going to get me the money right away. But I was like, let me just stick to one thing. And if that means that I'm not going to post, let me not post. But let me just stick to this one thing and see how it plays out. And it's been thus far rewarding. So I just can't wait to see how much bigger and much more rewarding it's going to get. I hope that's making sense. Anyways, with that being said, pursuers, I'm going to stop rambling. Thank you for listening to me. We were waiting. I was recording this podcast while I was waiting for some servicemen to come fix our air conditioning, because it's so hot. And of course, we need the air conditioning to work. And I promised my daughter that we'd head to the beach, because we have limited time here, where we're actually going to be living before we head back. So we want to kind of enjoy the little things. And part of that is going to the beach. And we're going to go now because it is a Friday, and weekends tend to get a little bit more busier. Who knows? We might even go on the weekend, but we're definitely going to go now and just enjoy it for a couple hours. So with that being said, pursuers, thank you for listening to this pod. I will get back to some of the recaps next week, maybe even on the weekend. This is just a friendly reminder to all the pursuers out there and people that really want to make things happen, to let's just remind ourselves, be gentle with ourselves, and just remind ourselves to be freaking patient, because I think when it comes to letting things happen and allowing things to happen, we are our own worst enemy, and we are following guidelines and timelines that are non-existent. And those are great, but it's also being realistic with them. And it's like, let's just be busy enough that while this is happening, we have other things going on, so we're not focused completely on that and wondering why that's not happening for us quite yet. And it's just like Murphy's Law. You're waiting for a phone call and you're sitting there by the phone and it doesn't happen. But the minute that you go and you like get yourself busy and you're starting to make dinner and, something pops on TV that you're watching, there comes a phone call. It's because you're not waiting for it. You're just time feels so different when you're actually doing things as opposed to when you're waiting for something, I don't know if that's a physics thing. That's just a Nas thing. So I'm just sharing it with you guys. So let's remind ourselves to be patient. And if we're not the most patient person, let's keep ourselves busy, not busy to the bone, but busy enough so that, we're not constantly waiting and testing our patience. And let's just believe in ourselves a little bit more. So if there's anything that I can take away with that, it's that all the hard work that I have been putting in has finally started to pay off when at times it felt like, what the fuck am I doing this for? Whether it was work on myself, work on my blog, work on my podcast, work on just anything in life. It's like now, again, the reminder has come in to this is why, because eventually it will mature and get to a point that it's going to start going in the direction that you wanted it to. So with that, pursuers, have a wonderful weekend. Be nice to yourselves. Be patient with yourselves. And lastly, believe in yourselves, because as long as you're consistent, I should be one to know this. I'm a bodybuilder. It will always come. We don't see the little wins every day, but one day in the future, when you look back, you realize that every day was a little win. I think that is the most profound of all this journey. And, my podcast and my blog are called The Pursuit of Happiness. I'm feeling happy in this moment. I've pursued it to get to this point. I want more little wins like this so that I can feel happy like this, because it's not always a state of being. It's just a feeling, and it goes, So with that being said, have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Thanks for following me. Thanks for subscribing. And if you haven't yet, please follow, subscribe, like, share. My podcast, you can get it on Spotify podcasts, on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeart, Podbean, and wherever else that you can get your podcasts. Thank you for being on this journey with me. We're just getting started, pursuers. Have a wonderful weekend.